What? Why you doing
Hello, 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 everyone.
What's that?
What? Wow, I was staring at you.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight down.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you want me to pull it down?
There you go.
There we go. You're so funny. Hey, everybody. Hey, 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 hey.
All right. Good evening. So get on. Join us. Invite
Yes.
others on.
Share.
We've been chatting it up about some marital things. I actually got a call earlier. Was it last week? Late last night about some marriage stuff that, like, man, you need to talk about this, and people are jumping on, and I pray to God that people are being blessed by this. So we ask that you would again begin to share.
Where are my glasses?
What you need to go.
Can you pass my purse? They might be in there.
Okay.
Just a whole purse.
See, look at this, y'all. See
Stop.
that? That's a book bag.
That you put your things in?
I do. I mean, that's what book bags are for. You put things in them. Okay, what's going on? Miss Amani, hey.
Hey, girl.
Listen, invite your friends, your family. What's going on, Mama Skinner?
I gotta find my glasses. I'll be back.
Okay, all right. So while my wife steps away to find her glasses, so I wear glasses too, but I'm nearsighted. So like in nighttime, I remember we went out of town one time, and man, it was like frightening. Like I was like a kid that just learned how to drive at nighttime. It was like everything was blurry. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't keep doing this, So, yeah, I got my glasses on when I'm driving. So, but anyway, look, at this time, I want you all to connect somebody with this. We got some topics. Let me tell y'all what. I got a call last night, and this married brother said, man, why y'all don't ever talk about spouse supporting another spouse, like not so much as financially, but just vision, what they want to do in life. I said, man, that would be good to even talk about. So we may touch on that again, and tell me your thoughts on what support looks like from a spouse. Like, when you think of, okay, I'm being supported by my spouse, what does that even look like?
I think they're in the car.
You're in the car? Okay.
I ain't worried about it.
You don't need your glasses. You can see, can't you?
I can't see the screen, but I'll do my
I'll
best.
tell you.
You tell me what I see.
Yeah, I'll tell you. That's your mother.
Hi, Mommy.
That's Monty.
Hey, Mommy.
And others are joining in as we speak. Look, if you have not, how many of y'all have gotten your books? If you have not gotten your books, please go to Amazon.
What books?
Books on Amazon.
Okay.
Let me teach you how to argue. We just came out with this. This has been a blessing. I actually want to give another rule if I could. Let me see. I'm trying to think of what would be a good rule. Ooh, you know what? I don't think I've ever said this one before. What was the one that I would put the mute button, right? Okay.
You've already given that one.
Okay, so there's one that I don't think I've ever said. Did I say it? I'm trying to find it. Where are you? So it's 50 rules in here. So I suggest you get them. I'm not sure if I said. I'm trying to find it. Like, oh my gosh.
Hello.
Let me see.
I hate I can't see well.
It's all right. I can tell you. Which one to look at?
Nothing. I just like to see.
They talk about when arguing on the phone, turn your volume down.
You talked about that?
Oh, okay. I'm getting all the stuff away. All right, I ain't gonna spoil it. So I'll let y'all get it. Listen, let me teach you how to argue. It's some good things in here. We've been seeing just this up and close. We've used it. It helps out anytime you argue. It's about being willing to implement these rules and engage in them. It doesn't work unless you use it, right? And so you have to be willing to use this. I remember when we started everything, we started with the book on dating advice for married men. We're actually going to like do
a book
a
club.
book club, and we've already talked to some couples, and we're going to get on, have several people on here, and so you got to like stay tuned when we talk about that. So we're going to get into this thing. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. So we just need to set it up. We had a plan on some dates, but we had to change some dates around because
you're so busy.
What you mean?
It's because of you.
No, what you mean?
I'm just kidding.
No, okay. Well, I'm never too busy for you.
That's right.
Okay.
You know better.
All right, look.
You know better, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I know
right.
better.
Yes, dear.
Yeah, right. Yes, dear.
Yes, dear.
All right. So look, I want you to jump on, and we want to invite questions because we don't really get a chance to like just jump and tackle a lot of questions on here. So we do want to invite some questions. So please, something we want to talk about tonight is going to be different.
Let's talk about blended families.
Blended families.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's
talk about it.
And here's I think it's something that I remember when I was in high school. You'll hear the term blended family. You're like, oh, okay, that's cool, but you never really think about it. But
when you live it, it's a different story.
Yeah, but nowadays, everybody got babies. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like if you're single, more than likely you probably will end up marrying somebody who may have a child, depending on how old.
Well, I prayed that you didn't have any kids before I got you. I was like, Lord, when my husband comes, please don't let him have no kids. It was selfish of me because I was like, I don't want to deal.
You got kids.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought my kid was perfect, so I didn't want to deal with your child.
Okay, so here's the crazy thing about this, and I don't know if this is I think it is something women deal with, right?
What's that?
I remember when I was graduating college, my first job, I was sitting next to a woman who showed me her list. She said, look, I have a list of things that I've been praying God, to bless me with my husband. He got to do this. He got to have this. He got to do. It was this long list, and I'm really looking at the list, and I said, wait a minute, do you have this? No.
I think you should become what you're asking for.
But you saying you prayed. I didn't have kids, but you had a child.
That was my younger self.
No, you still had it.
I did want that. I did. It was true. I didn't want a man who had kids. That was just my own preference. I mean, I wasn't wrong for wanting that. But I mean, God answered my prayers. So you came with no kids. So hey.
That's true. But what I'm saying is that that doesn't negate the fact that was still like a.
It was hypocritical.
Hypocritical prayer. That's
it
what I'm
was because I was coming with a 7-year-old.
But I'm glad you acknowledged that because a lot of people don't acknowledge
it. It was hypocritical with me, but I was so serious, and that's what I wanted. I wanted a man who did not have kids, and I didn't have to deal with baby mama drama. And I had to assure you that you didn't have to deal with my baby daddy.
Okay.
And was I right or was I wrong?
No, you're right.
Yeah, we never had that baby daddy
never
drama.
Had issues.
None whatsoever, because I didn't come with that.
Yeah, but I guess it's still worth stating that that if you have these hypocritical demands, at least acknowledge the hypocrisy.
I acknowledge the hypocrisy.
No, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about people listen because they're people, and you know it. You've heard women talk about they got to do this, they got to do this, they got to make this much, but they don't even make that much. Like there's a hypocrisy, but at least acknowledge it. There's a part in the Bible in the scriptures that God was dealing with Israel, and He said, "Okay, now you've hit an all-time low," and here was the low. He said, "It's not enough for you to do evil, but now you're calling evil good and good evil. Like you won't acknowledge that this is wrong. Yeah. You won't acknowledge this right." So I guess what I'm saying is that if you do that, at least the first thing, acknowledge, okay, that's hypocritical.
I'm acknowledging that when I did not before I met him, my prayer was on my list. I didn't want a man who had kids because I didn't want to deal with baby mamas. Now that was me, and that's what I asked for, and God did it for me, you know. But even though I came with a kid, but
so let's talk about that. Let's tackle that because nowadays it's probably difficult to find somebody without children. Would you agree? Depend on your age.
It depends on your age, and it depends on. There are some people who don't have kids. I have a lot of female friends who don't have children.
Okay.
And
but
I also have a friend who she does not have children, but when she got married, he had 2 daughters, and those are her daughters. So she treats them as though they were
but it's still within the family because the man had kids.
Yeah, but I'm saying she accepted those girls as her own.
Right. So, so I guess what I'm saying is that.
But she didn't mind. She didn't mind because she wasn't trying to have any kids.
I'm not saying that it's hard to find women without kids. I'm saying people, period. Whether it's the man, like a lot of times, like whether it's the man dealing with a woman that he's dating, that she may have kids, or vice versa, the man may got some kids. It's it's out there. Like that may be an issue. She's dealing with. Somebody said, Shantae said, I don't have kids. All right, okay. So the question
So being that you don't have kids, do you prefer that he doesn't have kids, or do you mind if he already has children?
Yeah. And if they do have kids, what type of challenges do you think that you may face?
So one of the challenges that I think, before we go there, I would say when I met you, Gavin was 7. My prayer was also, Lord, send me somebody who would help me to raise my son. He was 7 when I met you.
Okay.
And so I was looking for somebody, I was waiting for somebody to come and find me. You hear that, ladies? I was waiting for someone to come who would love me as well as my child.
Okay.
And he was 7 years old. And that's what I was looking for. So being that I was actually looking for that, I wanted, one of the biggest challenges that I've listened to amongst some of my friends about discipline. I think that is like one of the biggest challenges, can be one of the biggest challenges. And I say that because some people feel like, oh, you better not hit my baby. You better not discipline my child. You don't get a chance. I'm the disciplinary. Like that. But I think with me, I didn't have a problem with it because I wanted someone to help me to raise my child.
So even if
that meant you discipline, I ain't saying abuse them, but discipline.
Like even if you got your own kids, you shouldn't abuse nobody.
Yeah.
But I guess even if you have a person who feels like, no, I don't want you to discipline my child, the question is, should they feel that way? And I feel like, no, you should not be married to somebody if they cannot discipline the child. And here's the reason why.
I don't want to keep nobody kid if I can't discipline.
Yeah, look, me either. Like I can't. Like even my babysitting. That's my rule.
Like no.
If I gotta babysit your child, look, I need to be able to know I can whoop them. If I can't whoop them, I can't take them nowhere.
That's right.
And
that's just us. Now we ain't talking about this gentle parenting now.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. No, hold on. Before we talk about that, hold on, real quick. Somebody just said something. I'm mixed on my future spouse. Rachel said, having kids. I'd rather not, but I love those babies as my own if they do, since God put us together. All right, okay. Shantae said,
wait a minute, what'd you say, Rachel? What she said, she'd rather not what?
She'd rather not her spouse have kids, but if they had them, she'll love the babies as her own, since God put us together. Okay. Shantae said, he can have kids, just make sure they're adults. Okay. That's funny.
and they don't live with them.
Get one of those sugar daddies and kids just your age and stuff. I don't think it's no genuine men out there anymore. Oh,
who said that?
Determined by faith. I don't think it's no genuine men.
It is. They are somewhere. They still exist.
Why do you say that? Like, I guess I want to understand why you say what you say. What makes you? And again, think of this.
Is this just from your experience of what's been presented to you that you feel like that's Shalonda?
Because you can't make absolute statements on people. Like you don't know everybody, so you can't say there's
From
no
your
genuine.
But even from your experience, if that's all you have experienced is men not being genuine, then you would feel like that.
Yeah, but your experience is limited. I mean, so that's why you I heard it said that feelings are what is it? Their feelings are horrible masters. What it says what is the statement? Come on, somebody help me out. They're good.
Feelings are nothing more than feelings.
Something about feelings are good teachers, feelings are good students, or they're horrible masters. Like they're valuable, but you have to still make sure they're in check. Like you need a friend right there by you. Say, hey, listen, your experience doesn't represent all of reality, right? Because you can get so emotional. You look, everybody bad. All men, all women are no good. All men are dogs. This whole race don't like our race. You get those emotions, but you need people in your life say, okay, look,
that
step back.
there are some. Shalonda, I do believe that there are some genuine men, because I know a few men who they would love to be married, and they're genuine about being married and having someone. So, but look, if that has been your experience, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I do believe that there are some men out there that are genuine.
Okay, it says real but not reliable. That's it. That's good. Emotions are real, but not reliable. You're absolutely right. Only one is reliable is the Lord. So we have to allow Him to heal that part of your heart, and let Him guide your steps. Because here's the thing: is that a lot of times sometimes, not all the time, sometimes the people that we choose is a reflection of our bad choices. For real.
Yeah.
How often do we actually pray and then wait on God?
Yeah.
Do we just choose because it's good chemistry? I like how they look. I like how they dress. I like the income they
He's
make.
so fine.
And they so like that, what I'm saying is that's a reflection of your choice.
But
sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes not sometimes. I say this all the time, that when you meet a male or female, your prayer should be, who is he or who is she and who sent them? And if you pray that prayer and you do it, you pray that prayer in itself, you will see, God will reveal it to you. Because sometimes we don't ask, who is the person, who am I dealing with? And then we're 2-3 years in a relationship, and then you get to see who this person is, and it's not the person that you want to be with.
And sometimes God told you not to do it, but you did anyway.
Yeah.
So God will, and here's what I've seen is that God will speak through your parents, through your kids, through your friends, but you want to do what you want to do.
So the other part in blending families, back to that, is I remember when I first got to a place where I really had a desire to be married, and I was trying to prepare to be married. And I remember I met a guy, and he was a really good candidate. I was like, hey. Anyway, and I remember when I finally got to a place where I wanted to introduce him to my son, because it wasn't right away. And when I introduced him to my son, the first time we all hung out together, we went to like a parade, and they both seemed like they had a good time with each other, and it was fun for both of them. And then the second time we went out for pizza, and my son just clowned. He was just acting a nut, and he had to be probably about 5 or 6 years old at the time. This was before Mike, and he just would not be still. He was irritable, and so I asked him, I said, like, what's wrong, Gavin? Like, what happened? He was like, well, when I met him at first, he acted like he liked me. Now he act like he don't like me, and so I don't like him. And But because, now this was what I did, but because my son did not like him and he didn't like my son, then I knew that for me, I felt like we weren't going to get along because this is who I love. I love my baby. Now, if you don't like my child, it's a 5-6-year-old. You don't like him. Not to say that my son went extra and he wouldn't be still, but you, and he didn't have any kids, so he really probably didn't want someone who had a kid. I don't know. But whatever the case is, Gavin didn't like him. And so when Gavin told me that, I was done. I was like...
But how many women stay? And they see this.
I wasn't desperate for a man, and I felt like, I thought he was a good catch, and I was like, okay. But the fact that he didn't like my kid and my kid didn't like him, I didn't see how that was going to work. But now that was me. Now, had God said, this is your husband, then I would try to see how we're going to work this out.
Right. But he didn't say that.
He didn't say that.
So I guess that leads me to a question. What are the signs that kids don't like who you're dating? Like, how do you, because I know people who jump in relationships and every child don't like every person, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are those signs? And I ain't talking about the marriage. I'm talking about just that initial dating.
Well, the sign for me was my son said,
he said,
I don't like it.
But if they don't say it, like,
Yeah.
how people need to know the cues, because they need to know, like, okay, are they even looking and seeing how that person reacts or is around your child? Are they seeing how their child acts when they're around them? Like, what are some signs?
Well, maybe one of the signs is that the kid don't like the person. And you can tell when children don't take to people. You know, and sometimes the kids will try to fill you out and then, like, okay. And then they warm up. But if you see that kid never warms up and it's like...
Never talk to
him. Or the person that you're with never talk to the kid. Then, those could be signs. I don't know. But I know my sign was Gavin said it. He just like, I don't like him. And then I just felt like, okay, so you don't have to call me no more.
Yeah.
He was like, why? Like, I was like, my son don't like you and you don't like him. So that's it.
Yeah. And
I was done.
Yeah, like, and even ask the child, talk to the child, like, observe, like, pay attention to children, pay attention to the person you with, how they around your child. Somebody just said, but some kids don't want you with anyone too. Okay,
that's very true.
Okay.
There are some kids who are like,
no,
it's my mama.
Right,
yeah.
but here's the thing: is that, and I guess I may be biased, being a youth pastor. Like, I love kids, right?
But everybody don't love the kids.
But that's the problem. Why would you want to be with somebody who don't love kids? Like.
Okay, so let's back this up, Mike. I didn't like kids, and most people may know this about me. I didn't like kids until I had my own. So I grew up with kids on my hip when I was 7 or 8 years old. Like, we lived in the house. My siblings, my sisters, and my brother had children, and so they were like 7 or 8 years old. I mean, I was 7 or 8 years older than them, so they were on my hip. So I didn't like kids. So I didn't like kids until I had mine. Okay.
So what does that mean?
No, you were saying...
I mean, that don't mean that what I said is wrong.
Yeah.
Because you just, all that means you didn't like kids. And what I'm saying is, the whole point is, why would you want to be with somebody who don't like kids?
But that's why I was praying that I did get somebody who had kids. That's why I was being hypocritical, because I didn't want to deal with...
And so if I had a child... Like, and I knew, okay, you don't like kids, then I would have to say, okay, you're not the one I need to be with, unless the Lord said it.
Unless God said it,
right,
then it would have...
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if a person doesn't like children, and let's be real, because I think we have a generation of people who, this is how they deal with kids. Go in that other room. Just sit there, be quiet.
Yeah.
And just, they don't talk to the kids. They don't, like, see what's going on. They're so disconnected with kids. They don't know what they're watching on TV.
Give them a cell phone
and just let them be quiet. As long as they quiet.
Yeah, as long as you're quiet.
But that reveals a root problem that I think that should be addressed as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's just, okay, this person don't like kids, it's all right. But I think these are the things that we need to let the Lord deal with our hearts on, even when it comes to children.
Yeah.
Because we're to be stewards, not just over our money, over what the property that we have, over stuff. We're to be stewards over the children that God gives.
Yeah. So something that I have seen also is I've literally seen where people have children, and then they start dating somebody, and then okay, maybe they're gonna get married, and then they just, I don't like when parents would like this your daddy, this your new daddy, and want the kids to call them daddy unless the kids want to, and I guess it depends on.
Say that again. Say it again. Oh, wait, they said these kids need Jesus.
Of course.
You're right.
Of course.
But why would Go ahead. Why would they receive Jesus from somebody who don't like them? Think of this. They need Christ, but then you choose somebody who don't like kids, and that person needs to be able to minister the Lord to this child that they don't like.
Well, that's why.
Have you ever had somebody in church that didn't like you and they want to tell you about Jesus? What'd you do?
Hi, Felicia.
I don't want to go to that church. Right. So the same thing with kids. Like they're little. My grandfather said something to me one time, and this years ago. Oh my gosh, it was many years ago.
Look, she said,
every child is different. My oldest didn't like anyone. However, he definitely considers my ex-husband as his dad. Amen. My grandfather said something when my little cousin, he was, I don't know how old was Elijah at the time. He was like a little kid, like
all right, 3 or 4.
3 or 4. And his mama wanted him to eat something, and he was like, I don't like it. And she was like, you gonna eat it. And my grandfather he's like, wait a minute. He said, why you gonna make this boy eat something he don't like? He said, these kids, y'all treat them like this. They're little people. They're human beings. They got dislikes.
They got taste buds.
They got taste buds too. Like, why? You don't treat them. Don't treat them other than what they are. They're people.
Oh, you gonna eat what I cook? That's what you gonna eat.
Yeah, they people. They just little people.
You hear what I say?
Yeah, you gonna eat right. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you wouldn't even do that. That doesn't necessarily mean that okay, kids shouldn't eat their vegetables, but it gave me a different perspective on how to see children. They're people with emotions, with trauma. They get sad, they get depressed, they get happy, they get joy. Like, they're little people. That's it. And so, anyway, that's my GoFundMe kids, rant that I went on. Okay.
So you can't see on the screen either.
Yeah, no, I can see, but it's going kind of quick. Every child's different. Okay. So anyway, so what were you saying? I'm sorry.
I don't know, because you threw me off.
Oh, you mentioned something along the lines of discipline.
Oh, so when it comes to discipline, what do you all think about discipline? Should the new parent, or like, say for instance, so when Gavin, when I met him, Gavin was 7, and I had already made up in my mind, like, I didn't mind if my spouse would discipline my child. And not to be abusive, nobody, of course, not to be abusive, but to straighten him out, because I believe that he needed a man in his life, and I could do so much hollering, but he could say, hey, and then
every child needs a father.
So I didn't have a problem with him being a disciplinary in his life. But I know, just as a kid, like, and Gavin can tell you, Mike he whooped him one time. And
that was my introduction. I whooped him the first day I met him. Ain't that something?
No, you didn't whoop him. You grabbed him, because he was about to run out in the street in the parking lot.
Oh, you're right. You
grabbed him, and he looked at you, and so he looked at me like, "What you gonna do?" I was like, "But you running in the street, So I didn't have a problem.
You're right.
Yeah, but you whooped him later on.
Right.
Like, he had to be probably about 10 when he got a whooping. Maybe about 10. He was 10 or 11 or something. And I think he got a whooping for talking to his little cousin, talking to little Nene crazy. And Mike was like, you don't talk to no woman, like, you don't talk to no little girl like that.
Yeah, you got to raise his boys right. They got to respect women.
Yeah, and so he got a whooping, but he never had to whoop him again in his life. But even to this day, if Gavin is getting loud or talking to me and I'm going off and So Mike can get the phone after me and say, Gavin. He be like, sir. And it's just like a whole different tune because, you know, but and something that Gavin told me one day, he said, I wasn't afraid of Mike. He said he came to me and it was respect. It was out of respect. I didn't do what he told me not to do out of respect. He said, so he didn't scare me into doing it. It was out of the respect I had for him that made me obey what he said and do what he said.
Wow.
So it wasn't like, you know, how you take your kid and punch him in the chest and be like, what I tell you? Like, it wasn't like that. It was like out of respect and honor for him that he would do it, you know, whatever he said. So, and to this day, their relationship is much different than our relationship. But I never had a problem with discipline. So those of you all who are on tonight, how do you feel about your spouse, your new spouse, coming in as a disciplinary? And what do you think about that? Do you think that this child you already had, should this person not be able to discipline them? You know, and that's something that even we taught our children, was we always talked about us being one, like from day one. Like, listen, mom and daddy, we won. We are one. And so even to this day, they know, okay, y'all won. And so they can't call him and ask for nothing, and then can't call me and ask for something else. Like, what did she say? What did he say? And so we're always in agreement. So they can't play those games with us. So.
Wow. So the discipline stuff.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? Would you allow them to your spouse to discipline your child as you have blended your family?
Ooh, I want to hear this. Somebody says, there's discussion before marriage. I'm not sure. Slater, explain what you're talking about. I don't know what part you're addressing. I think Patricia said, I think it should be okay, but it certainly warrants a conversation in advance. So you're saying discipline your child should be okay, or your spouse disciplining your child should be okay, but you should have a conversation about what that discipline looks like. Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure if just explain briefly, what do you mean? And Slater, when you say discussion before marriage, are you talking about discussing whether or not you should discipline the child, or what discipline looks like?
Discussion before marriage, he says.
Yeah. Just if you can just kind of like break that down just a little bit.
Yeah.
And so we can get some clarity on
Look,
that.
I do believe having that discussion beforehand, it does make a big difference. So that way, and I think having discussions about anything beforehand, so that, you know, no one won't be confused. Okay. You know,
they should talk about how they feel about that before getting married. Oh, absolutely, I do believe that. Here's my take on that. So there's some people who feel like you shouldn't spank children. Now, I'm not one of those.
Yeah, we are not people who do gentle parenting. Come here, little Tommy. Don't do that.
I don't think that spanking is the only form of discipline, but I don't think that that you should not spank at all. I mean, that's just me. But I remember one time that it was so funny.
I was thinking about, I was on a farm one day, and we were hanging out just on this farm, and I remember sitting with this old man, and we were talking about, you know, kids, and he said to me, he was like, listen, treat your kids right and beat them with a stick.
What?
He's talking about, that's the Bible. And I just laughed, you know, spare the rod, spoil the child. That's what he was saying in his own words. He was like, treat your kids right and beat them with a stick.
Okay, wait, so Slater said something. I agree with this. He said, me personally would say yes. If I don't trust you to discipline my children, I don't trust to marry you. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Because, like, for real, like I have to trust you with everything.
Yeah.
Even if it's my child, like, I need to trust you with my money, trust you with my life, you know, with my children.
And I do understand too, because there are people who have trauma childhood abuse,
Yeah.
and they feel like when you do this, don't do that. Like even like I believe my son had trauma because when he would see my daughter acting up, he would say things to me like, "Mama, please don't whoop her like that." And please don't grab her by her arm, because I used to take him and grab him up by his arm and wah, wah, wah. And he was like, please don't do it like that, you know, because of the trauma, because I would snatch him up. So,
look, so somebody said, Patricia said, yes, discipline should be okay because if not, the house is divided and it will show. Absolutely.
Yes, it will.
I have 3 girls. Somebody said I have 3 girls, so the things that happened to me in my life, I was very careful. So basically, it was their dad or my husband at the time, because I got beat. Oh wow, okay. Somebody else said I would beat the brakes off these kids. No, I wouldn't hit no one else's kids, Shante, but I would discipline them in other ways.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Diane says, I knew of a couple who didn't mind their current husband discipline her child, and when her current husband disciplined, okay, hold on, let me see it. Her child, her ex-husband was upset, and it ended being a case of, I guess, divorce. What's DFC?
Oh, wow.
What is DFC? I mean DCF.
DCF. That's
okay.
like the child abuse.
Okay, child abuse. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
DCF.
Slade said discipline doesn't have to be beating, but everyone should discuss how to discipline. Okay, so here's can I let me say this? So I literally seen people that beat their kids, and the kids were still bad. Like, but I'm serious. It was strictly abuse, right?
Yeah.
I've seen people beat their kids, and the kids had trauma.
Yeah.
But one day I was it was Gavin was young, he was probably about 12 or something, and Brendan was over there. So he was over there, and Micah was little. She was about 3 or 2 or something. And then I spanked her. She did something, and I told her, like, hey, don't do it. And I spanked her, and she started crying. But then she reached out to me, and I make sure babies remember.
We don't reject affection after we beat them. We still be like, all right, I still.
That's all my whole rule. And here's why. I always, how kids, you get parent beat a child like, oh, don't touch me, go sit over there. No, if the baby want to hold me, I will hold them. Here's the reason why. Because I know that while I'm training this child, I know that a lot of times people, there's a correlation of how they view God the Father based on how they view their father. Whatever the relationship it was with the earthly father, they would see there was like a correlation how they saw God the Father, right? So if your father never talked, when you deal with God the Father, you feel like he don't really speak much, right? If your father was a provider, you trust God the Father to provide. So I wanted to make sure that even when I discipline her,
that I still love you,
and I receive you right away. So that the Bible says God disciplines those he loves. So when they grow older and God disciplines them, that they will know that the Father, it doesn't mean the Father has pushed away, that he still receives them. I needed her to know that. And so I went totally left. So what ended up happening was Brendan saw me and saw how Micah clung to me. And Brendan, even then he would ask all 1,000 questions.
Had a zillion questions.
He said, I gotta ask you something. I said, what's going on? How is it that you can beat her like that and she'll come and hug you? And I thought about it, and I said, because she knows I love her.
Yes. Yeah.
And normally it takes a lot to silence Brendan, and he listened. He's like, okay. I said, she knows there's love. Yeah. And if a child is convinced you love them,
do you remember?
It doesn't. I'm telling you.
Look,
but you have to love them though, right? It's the love part makes a difference. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Do you remember? I don't know if this ever happened to you, but do you remember your parents would give you a whooping and tell you, "I'm beating you because I love you," and I used to be like, "This is not love."
Yeah, they would say it.
Yeah, but to say it,
but to do it is totally different. Yeah. I love my kids. I had to show love, and it had to be the love of the Father. Yeah. And I needed to there's a scripture where it was in Malachi where it says, Jacob I love, Esau I hated. Then you ask me, how do I love you? You know what I mean? Like the Lord's saying, like, you literally asking, how do I really love you? I love you. I like the Lord had to drill in my heart that, listen, you are loved by me. Yes. I had to be convinced. And if God will go out his way to convince me that he loves me, it's my job as a father. Listen to this.
To convince
convince my children that I love you. Now, in that love, if I don't discipline, that shows a lack of love. Yeah. Because I've seen people who did not spank their kids, and when their kids grew up, guess what? They end up getting killed or locked up because the world did not treat you like your mama and your daddy did.
Or they beat their parents.
But the thing is, if you love them, you will discipline them. But the first thing, you have to convince them of that love. I didn't get the I love you with it. I just got whooped. Yeah, and that makes a difference. Yeah. You needed the love, not I love you, but to show that love, with the children. Look, can I read something?
Yep, go ahead.
So let me show y'all something. This part right here is something that is so important to God that he even mentions it in scripture. There's a passage in Colossians 3. It's in verse 21. It says, fathers, do not provoke your children. Ephesians says provoke to wrath, right? So you can assume that he's talking about provoke your children lest they become discouraged. Like literally, you can be so angry. And honestly, look, when we got married, before we got married, we talked about this even with discipline. When you all said about having a conversation, we said we need to have a rule that don't whoop the child when you're angry.
Yeah, because you can beat the hell out your kid when you're mad.
Like cool off.
Yeah.
You could do it later, but never beat or whoop your child while you're angry. It's kind of like don't go to the grocery store while you're hungry.
Yeah, because
you'll overeat and you'll overbuy. And you'll overbeat if you whoop your child while you're angry. Yeah. These are rules we had in place.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Look, I remember that time when Michael was doing COVID and we had to like homeschool. Look, Michael would come out. Hey, I ain't never been mad like this. Nia, look, it was my pressure was high.
Better I was like, than me. Michael be like, girl, wait a minute. You know that little, it was a little video like, 1 + 1 is 2.
Hey, man.
What is it, 3?
The Lord revealed how little patience I have. I think God did that for me because he wanted to show, look, you ain't got all the patience you think. And literally, when people say children add problems.
Hey, Bella Marie.
Well, here's what I do know. Children actually reveal the problems that already exist. They reveal things in you. They reveal what little patience you have. They reveal all the anger that you got in your heart. They reveal how much you don't forgive right away, how you hold grudges. Children reveal these things. Yes, and the Lord revealed to me that I ain't had no patience with Michael.
But you know what I used to do to my kids? I used to tell them, I'd be like, come here. After I whoop them and say,
I love you.
I love you. Give me a kiss. Give mama a kiss. They used to be like,
But Nia, I you know what? When I saw that, I was like,
you used to get so mad at me. Like, why you do that to them? I was like, cause I love them.
But that was beautiful, Nia, because it taught them that even as they grow up in a marriage, that after I get into my spouse, I need to quickly make it right.
I love you.
I can't hold on to this anger.
I'll tear that butt up, and then I'll say, come here, give me a hug. Give mama a hug, kiss your mama.
But that's for you. That's even for you too. It helps you. Like, okay, I ain't gonna be mad at you.
Yeah. I do you like that too.
Yeah, you did. I'd be mad. I used to be mad. Oh, I want to be angry for a little bit.
Like, no, give me a hug. Give me a kiss. You gonna kiss me? You can't refuse my affection now.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on.
I wish I could see.
It says my father gave me one beating when I was 11, and I heard
him crying
afterwards in his room that made me want to not ever make my father upset again. Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
My dad whooped me one time too, Bella. Just one time. And he couldn't even whoop. He didn't whoop me. It just hurt my feelings just to see him swing that belt at me. He probably hit me maybe once or so.
But notice the scripture doesn't say fathers don't whoop your children or discipline. It says don't provoke them to wrath. Don't provoke them. Don't provoke them because they'll become discouraged. like literally, you know, you got children where fathers, even grown children, where their fathers provoke them,
Yeah.
and they've been discouraged
Yeah.
because of their relationship with their daddy.
Yeah. That's very true.
You know, and so I think just even with a blended family, sometimes you may feel like, okay, that ain't my child. You know, that is your child if you get married.
Yeah.
Now, they ain't your child when you single. Oh, let's talk about that. Come on, Nene.
What?
You get people who will act like they married while they single, right?
They play house.
They play house when they get married. They act like they single. But let's talk the first one. They act like they married when they single, and they feel like that child is theirs and their responsibility, but they're not married.
Yeah.
And you take this burden on, right?
Yeah.
And it's not yours to carry.
Yeah.
Unless you're married.
That's very true. And I hate to see that, because even when that couple breaks up, it sometimes breaks the heart of the children.
The children?
Yeah.
It breaks the heart of the person that they split up.
Yeah.
You know,
especially if the kids were raised with this person.
Yeah.
So it's disheartening.
So now here's the thing. So you don't want your kids discouraged, right? So don't provoke them. But also, here's what it says. I'm gonna read another one real quick. Ephesians, right? Let me see. Ephesians 6, and this even in your blended family, just not your own child, but the child that your spouse brought in, because that's your child too if you're married. It says, Ephesians 6, it says, verse 4, and you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. So it gives like, okay, you discipline, right? But if you're not training them and teaching them what's right, teaching them God's ways, then no matter how much you beat a child, they won't do right because you ain't taught them right. You know, and I think that's and here's the thing with discipline. Discipline. Okay, when y'all think of discipline, what do you think of? I want to hear what y'all say real quick. So describe what you think provoking looks like. Okay,
Provoking or discipline?
Somebody said, what does provoking look like? Okay. So I want to hear, what do you think provoking looks like? Tell me. What do you think provoking looks like?
Where's that?
Patricia, I want y'all to jump in real quick. Tell me, what do you think provoking looks like? But it was something you was about to say, Nia.
I don't know. You're so excited. I keep forgetting.
You forget?
Yep.
Okay. Well, what does provoking look like? I want to hear what you all are saying. What does provoking your children look like? Somebody said, Lane says, not listening. Provoking, Patricia said, provoking as in scriptures. Okay. Somebody said, not listening. Okay. What else? Anybody else? What do you think provoking looks like? Somebody else just Gregory said good sound teachings. Okay. The real issue is discipline, training versus provoking, antagonizing, and mistreatment. Absolutely. Anyone else? Anyone else? What does provoking look like? What does it look like? We got some more people. So somebody said not listening. The real issue is discipline, training versus provoking, antagonizing. Anyone else? I want y'all to jump in. And what do you think provoking your children look like? And I want to look up. Okay, somebody else says allowing your past hurt to control their upbringing. Oh my goodness, that's a mouthful right there. How does it look like?
Wow.
The past hurt to. Can I add? Could that look like a mother who feel like they've wasted their years and they want to get married, and so they go out on dates and have the older child like raise their other children.
Yeah, that's so wrong.
They hearing you that so now the one of the children becomes the parent because the parent is not around.
Most of the older children usually would help take care of the kids. They had a bigger responsibility.
Okay, somebody said telling your child not to do something, but they see you do it. Oh, they see the hypocrisy. Oh my goodness. This
Girl, don't.
not,
You should smoke cigarettes.
Wait, here's one. I'll give you a simple one. You don't need to be watching stuff like that. But the
I
stuff that you're telling your children not to watch, you don't need to be watching it either. And this is the hypocrisy. We have to be honest. Like, look, okay, this stuff on this music you listen to, all that raunchy stuff. No, you don't need to listen to it. You're absolutely right. But at the same time, I don't need to be putting that in my ears.
Yeah.
Right?
Lead by example.
Lead for real. And they see this stuff.
Yeah.
They hear it. They listen. You know, don't do this, but you do it.
You can't wear those little shorts, girl. And yours little.
Quit cursing so much. Well, why don't you stop cursing?
Yeah.
Okay? So remember, they're little people. What the stuff that a lot of the stuff that we're telling them not to do are things that we shouldn't be doing as well, but they don't hear us say that. That is part of the training. Like, God is watching you, but he's watching me too.
That's true.
So,
because
baby, let's hold each other accountable.
That's my favorite line to my kids. You know, God see everything.
What happens when your child tell you something you doing wrong?
Yeah.
Come on.
That's Micah.
Tell that time that Micah about her friend got mad.
Oh, so when Michael was little, I remember like the little neighbors across the street, and I didn't like the way they would treat my baby. So I would tell them, girl, don't play with them no more. And so, you know, they would use Micah because her daddy always made baked cookies. And they come knock on the door and tell your dad to make us cookies. And so he'll bake them cookies. He'd go outside playing with them. And then they wouldn't treat my baby right. And so I was like, don't play with them no more. And so she came back and she was like, can I go back outside? I was like, no. She was like, but mommy, I forgave her. Why won't you forgive? And I was like, she was like, why don't you forgive?
She was holding you to biblical standards.
She was holding me accountable. And so I was like, okay.
And like, if your child tells you something that is true, and we justify
I was being a grudge holder with those kids, cause
but I think that's the part. Do you justify wrong when your child can see it in you?
Yeah.
You cannot have these double standards. You have to teach them the right thing, the right way. Patricia asked, what does abuse look like or provoking as in scripture? So I looked it up. The provoking simply means to rouse to wrath. That's it. Just to exasperate, to make angry. So think about the stuff that you do when you think your child is. I ain't talking about like they get mad at you because you trying to teach them the right stuff. But there's some stuff that okay. Like I went too far.
Yeah, I would literally get in my son's face and I just keep on until I'm done. And I want him to know how mad I am. And then Mike would have to come and get me, and then sometimes come and get me off of him because I would just go there.
Yeah, like
I'd be like, oh, you want to talk to me like you ain't from the hood. I'm from the hood. Let me show you what it's like to be from the hood. And Mike would be like, oh Lord.
I'll give you an example. Is it like, think of if you can wrap your mind around the fact that you're raising little people, right? That means when your parents used to fuss at you and keep on going and going and going, then...
Are you talking about me and me because you doing this?
So why would you do that to your child? You've already said it. They already know.
But I want you to hear it again.
Like...
And again.
You don't like when your spouse do it to you. Why would you?
And again.
And we do it because we feel like they're children. And the whole thing is you have to see them as little people. You're raising up these kids with trauma that they've inherited from you, and you got it from your parent, and they got it from their parent, and they got it from stuff that's...
Even the way that we discipline, a lot of it comes from... I've seen two extremes. So one of the extremes I've seen was the extreme of, this is like when I was younger, oh, I got a lot of whooping. So when I have my kids, I'm not whooping my kids.
Yeah.
And then the other extreme is, I'm gonna beat you as much as I was beat.
Right.
So,
and even like just teaching them wrong standards. I remember when I was young, I was told,
hit the wall when you did something.
no. That was like I was told, like, look, if somebody hits you, you better hit them back. If you don't hit them back, I'm gonna get you. Like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Look. What is it? Get me once, shame on you. Give me again, shame on me. Like,
now I came home from school and I had a whooping because, so this little boy, he hit me and I didn't hit him back. So when I got to school, I tried to beat the hell out of him because
I know you did.
I did.
I know you
because
did.
I was trying to have peace, and I was like, okay, I'm not supposed to fight, but he fought me, and I wouldn't fight him back because I knew I would get in trouble. So then I went to school. I tried to beat the hell out of him, and then I got a whooping for fighting. Why you fighting? Because you told me to get him.
Yeah, and I think that's if that's our first go-to. I think sometimes how many parents actually sit down and even talk to kids. But then you get parents that's all they do is talk. And every child is not the same. Yeah. Some children you just can't talk to.
Some kids you can't talk to. You need to knock them out. That's just what I believe. I don't believe in gentle parenting.
You need to put the fear of God in them.
Right.
So they can receive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know, like,
the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
Look, I know, like, with my son, the way I disciplined him, I was younger. But I always felt like he was a lot like me. Like, you couldn't tell him nothing, you know. But then Mike, I can just look at her and she be like, oh, mommy, you know. So, but they were two different generations, but I had to raise them different. But then I was older. Mm-hmm. So my son would say, Mom, you let her get away with all kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm old enough to be this girl grandmama. So I'm tired. I don't have the energy to whoop you for every little thing. Now, wisdom tells me, have a conversation with her. Maybe she don't understand.
Yeah.
But I was raised that you don't have to explain to children. If I said no, that's it. Right. But when I met Mike, he would want to explain to the child why. And if you ask me why, because I said so, go sit down. But you would tell me, listen, talk to him and explain to him. I'm not explaining to him why I told him you're not getting nothing because I said so. I don't have the money. Leave me alone. You know, but Mike would sit down and be like, okay, so man, you know, this and that. I didn't have time for that. And I wasn't raised like that.
Right. But I think it has to do with a lack of patience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think it's the honesty of being honest. Okay, what is the root problem? Is it the child or is it I lack patience? Mm-hmm. Right. You know what I mean? So, is they just won't listen to me or I'm not willing to sit down and talk?
So Lane says.
That's what I meant by past hurt affecting the upbringing. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody else said Nene used to beat girls up in Lansdowne. Oh my goodness. She had a reputation.
I was so sweet, she'll have to tell the truth.
My reputation precedes me, huh? Your reputation, man. So
I was sweet.
So look, so even when you talk about training children, like being with somebody and like talking to your spouse on how you would train the child up in the Lord. Do you remember when I used to talk to, was it Gavin and...
Look, she says provoking can be also
overly criticizing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they're people. You got to treat them like people.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way for me to see it. I can see them as little people. They have feelings. They have desires. They got dreams. They got goals. They get disappointed.
Yeah, they
get
tired. Feeling rejected and...
You know, they feel frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, when they can't figure something out. You know, like, they need love, just like we do, because they're people.
What were you saying before I interrupted you?
Remember I would I would sit down and have conversations with the kids about, okay, do you believe that God exists?
Yeah.
And it would be deep conversation.
And
but
those kids, they were something else.
you
They
would be
were-
surprised of what they're thinking.
Yeah.
But you don't spend time talking to them. I said, well, how do you know? I would press the issue just to just see, okay, I'm going to question
Let's see
what
how
you say.
far you can take them.
See how far you really believe what you believe. Why do you believe what you believe?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know there's a God? Well, when you think about it, all of a sudden the truth came out. Well, how do you know? Because you can't see no God. I said, okay, let's start there. Okay, you don't see God. Okay, what about this? And I start with breaking things down so they can walk away feeling like, okay, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I believe in God's word. I need to throw that seed out there because this is that moment, that time I get to steward with this child. To say, Lord, you gave me these gifts. You gave me these relationships. This is what I did with it.
So listen. So those of you all who are watching us tonight, put some questions out there, and even let's talk about these blended families. Let's talk about how do you blend, and even give us something. Just talk to us. Talk back to us.
So,
because what we're saying is what has happened in our household, and that doesn't mean that what we're doing. That doesn't mean that may work in your household, because it's gonna work. Yeah. But everything that I'm just saying, just some of the things that we are saying.
I'm giving you principles. I ain't telling you.
I'm not talking about the word. The word is the word, but I'm saying some of the personal things, the way we've done it, does not mean that it will work in your household. The word always works.
How do you deal with the kids' feelings about the other parent? Okay.
What do you mean?
How do you deal with the kids? Okay, explain that. How do you deal with the kids' feelings about the other parent? Okay, so there's a proactive approach and a reactive, right? Let's deal with the proactive. Is before you get married, before you start dating, you need to know this is the person you should be with, right? Mm-hmm. And you need to have conversations with them about families, about children.
But even about cultural differences, because your idea of discipline may not be the way I would do discipline.
I got a perfect example. So here's a cultural difference, right? When I met Nia, she was raised not to say yes sir, or no ma'am, or no sir.
Yeah, my daddy told me not to. He told me say yes or no, but you don't have to say yes ma'am, no sir. And he always always told me like that's a slave mentality. Yes ma'am, no ma'am. So I never did it. I would say yes.
So I was raised.
Or I would say no. You ask me a question, I say yes or no, because that's how he raised me. So I didn't have to be like, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And he was like, no, you ain't no slave. But that was his mentality, and that was how I was raised. So I taught my kids to say yes or no. You don't have to ma'am me or sir. But that was the way I was taught.
But when I was raised, I was told that you are disrespectful if you don't say yes, sir, or no, ma'am.
Yeah.
So this was a conversation that was needed.
We had to have.
Because when like Gavin say no or yes, I'm like, wait a minute. But once I knew that, okay, this was still respect, it was just, there was a different cultural lens. And I was okay then.
But what he learned was, because, DJ is a few years older than him. So he would hear DJ say, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. So he started saying it out of seeing his uncle saying yes sir, no sir. Yeah. But that wasn't what I was taught, so I didn't teach that.
Yeah. And once we had a conversation, it was like, okay, we have an understanding. We're not going in blindsided like, okay, I'm gonna feel disrespected.
I was like,
what are you talking about? He ain't saying that.
Let your nose be nose, yes, it be nay. Look.
You so funny, girl. All right, hold on. Rachel says, first, hold on. Let me see. Wait a minute. I think. Okay. So, Rachel said, how do you deal with the kids' feelings?
Lane said.
First, determined by faith says, first you both have to be on the same accord for as God. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Elaine said that Faith was about 11.
I remember Faith was 11, and she told her dad she was scared of me. Oh man. Oh.
I wonder why, Lane.
So yeah, tell me why.
Why, Lane?
Yeah, I want to hear why. I want to know that reason. Okay, Diane said they have problems that we think are not important, and that can also hurt them. Absolutely, you don't know unless you talk to them.
Yeah.
You know, and again, this just being showing concern. When you love people, you talk to them.
Yeah.
Right. If you love kids, you talk to them.
Yeah.
If you love people, let them talk back. It's just that's how you love people.
Yeah. But I think some people were raised in households that, you could not talk. I was raised that when I sat with my daddy, he would lecture me.
Yeah.
I would just have to listen, and I could have a small opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was always the slick mouth kid. And when I would say something, you're like, you so disrespectful, but what you're saying to me, I don't agree. But I would get in trouble all the time. So I just learned how to be quiet and not say anything, but I would be mad.
But I was different. I would disagree in my head.
You be arguing in your
I'd be
head.
arguing in my head that didn't make sense. Why? Because if they said that, I would have said this. And literally. But I wasn't bold enough to say it out loud. Okay, I ain't gonna be disrespectful. But I was thinking in my head.
I was, and I always got in trouble for it.
Hold on. Lane says how he handled it was helping her to realize how much I cared, but my feelings was hurt. It was almost a year before I said something to her, so I dropped the ball, and I'm still working on healing with her. At least you're being honest. That's good. You're working on it. I spoke very directly. I'm less rough. Okay. Let me see. Rachel said we didn't talk about it. We had to be quiet and listen only, or get in worse trouble. Yeah, and I think a lot of that stuff is broken in the Lord. There are things that, as I grew in Him, there's some things I started seeing things different. He started changing my perspective. When I met you, and heard the wisdom that God gave you, it started helping me see things different as well. So I think you don't stop growing. You still grow even in your marriage and your relationship. So there's a lot of stuff, because a lot of stuff I didn't agree when I met you. Now I'm like, oh yeah, she was right.
Yeah. And the same thing for me, vice versa. Wow. So
LaShonda said that sounds like don't ask me a question when I tell you to do something. But with my children, you can ask a question as long as it was not to challenge our authority. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like when you challenge my authority, now you got a problem.
But see, even with Mike, that's how he, was raised. You can ask questions and talk back. But I was raised you shut up. And if I said so, that's it. And so that's how I was raising my son before I met you. And then when the more you showed me that, okay, you can have this conversation. You don't always have to just say just because I said it, And I learned how to communicate better with him.
Yeah. But I agree with the authority part. I have very little patience with kids that challenge my authority.
Yeah.
I think I have less patience than you.
Yeah, you do.
But when it comes to challenging a thought, then I invite that.
But not authority.
I want to challenge their thinking.
Yeah.
Because I know how the enemy can deceive many people because they don't think
know.
about it.
Yeah.
Right. But if it's just authority where you bucking up and you like, oh heck no, as men, listen, let me tell y'all women, men have very little patience for children that challenge their authority, even if they're adults. Men have very little. So I'm telling y'all, women, pray for us brothers.
I can deal with it for a little bit.
We can't deal with it at all.
Yeah, and it can happen a couple times, and then it builds up, and then I blow up.
No.
But that's how I would. But remember, that's how I would parent. I would just do it again. All right, do it again.
But men ain't like that, Nia.
Yeah.
Men ain't like that.
It's true. You weren't.
Men, we struggle with this.
Yeah.
Now, I can't speak for every man, but most men I know, we struggle with. Hey, sit down. Who you talking to? We want to see some blood, because it's like I need to establish who the king of the jungle, and this how men think. So I do understand that. Hold on. Turn by faith, I'm going to have to visit y'all church. Yeah, come on. We'd love to visit us, girl. Yeah, we'd love to see you. If you want to keep your face on your skull, or your butt attached to your back.
Who is
You
that?
didn't talk back. That's Rachel. Oh my God, they was trying to break you all. Okay, yes, because Miss Skinner didn't play either.
No, she didn't. But my mama, she didn't even, her discipline was not discipline in a sense like, now my brothers, I done seen her jump on their back with a broom and beat them. And they be trying to get off their back and she just go to tagging them, you know. But like, as far as like the girls, she always backhand us. Like everything was a backhand. She didn't do a lot of whooping. She just go whap out. And all of us got big lips because she would just, and we be bleeding. Oh, mama.
But I think if parents spend more time training the children.
But we was hard-headed, Mike. You could tell us something over and over again, and we just...
I get you, but
Yeah.
but again, here's what I'm saying is that, and I'm saying this because I do believe that God gives grace when we decide to train them His way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's just us. Like we still have some spiritual, supernatural help.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if it was up to us, like we wouldn't be able to get our kids right. There's some stuff. Half the time we don't even know what our children doing.
Right.
We at work,
I just
we
wanna shake
away.
'em.
Like you don't know what your child is doing. Like because my parents didn't know what I was doing 24/7.
Yes, Rev, ring finger. She would have on big old fat rings and go whop out. We were like, "Ooh."
So yeah, you need God's help. Like, cause you don't know. Like you don't know what they watching on TV. You don't know what they typing in their phone. You don't know. You don't know what they erase. You don't know what they doing in school, in the hallways. Think about all the stuff we did when we was young.
Yeah.
That our parents never know.
Lord have
And
mercy.
so what I'm saying is that when you partner with God and raising your children, He helps you out. He helps for real.
Yeah.
Like shoot, at times the Lord will give me dreams about what's going on with my children, and I'm like, oh, now I know what to come against. I need to pray. Remember that time with Gavin with the band and and the Lord told you.
Oh my God. But you know, he would always get mad and he would start crying. He would be like, why God always tell on me? Because the Lord would give me a dream, vision. I remember one time he told me, I let him go downtown Belleville and I told him, I said, son, I said, the Lord said, call him and get your change back from him. And I was like, I had given him like a $50 bill and the Lord said, go get your change. And so I would start riding up the street. I called him and said, where are you? He was like, oh, I'm down here, downtown, still downtown Belleville. I said, okay. I said, well, I'm coming to get my change. He was like, okay. Then I saw him. He was running. And so he had came on the opposite end of Belleville. And he was running. And then I said, well, what are you looking at? I'm looking at Regions Bank. So I said, I'm right in front of Regions Bank. Where are you?
Doing something no
And
good.
he just lied.
Up to no good.
And then he was like, when I finally found him, he got in the car. He was like, why God always tell on me? He always tell on me. I'm like, listen, God see everything. And look, he was so mad. He was so mad. And then one time with the band, he told me that I told him, give me your ETA because they had band and they had went out of town. And he told me, oh, we won't be back until 12. And then he said, well, we made another stop. And then it was 12:30. Then it was 1 o'clock. I said, listen, let me speak to an adult because I'm not staying up all night. What is the problem? They need to bring you home. So I felt like, let me go to the school. I get to the school, and he jumping out of the car with somebody. Oh, my God. The school been closed. They been got dropped off, and he was, look.
I remember that.
And I got ready to beat him. And literally, he was in my room, and he was standing by the bed, and I got ready to beat him. And I had my fist ball up because my beatings wasn't like a belt. It was like I was punching you. And I remember the Lord let me hear his jaw crack.
Mm.
And I heard Mike saying, Nene, we gonna go to jail. So I knew not to hit him. I was like, boy, get out of my face. I just heard your jaw crack. Because I was about to crack. And that's what I was aiming for. I was going to punch him in his jaw. Like, you gonna lie to me? And so, yeah. So I was about to provoke him.
For real. And so imagine the grace for God to help you.
Yeah. He let me hear his jaw crack.
Man.
Like, that's what was about to happen. And I heard it crack. It just broke in half, like this part of his jaw, because that's what... Yeah.
Is
I
it,
said,
and
Lord,
is, and
thank
is
you.
it possible that some of your kids are being provoked to anger because you ain't allowing the Lord to help you parent?
Yeah.
Whether you're married, allowing the Lord to help you parent your child because they're His as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I got a question. What about when people say kids come first? What you think? Come on now.
You talking about in a marriage?
In a marriage, yeah, but kids come first.
My babies come first. That is not the Bible.
Come on, tell them what the Bible. What's the Bible?
That your husband is first. Look, I think that the trouble that happens if you already have a child and it's been you and your child. And that's what happened even with.
Well, first the Lord is first.
Yes,
then
that's very true.
I know you know it, but I just want
Yeah.
to tell somebody so y'all don't assume that
You know
spouse.
what
Well, I know you knew it. I just wanted to say it to them.
But now I forgot what I was gonna say.
You talking about when people say that my child come first.
Yes, my child comes first, and I got to do this for my baby. And I think that, like with me and Gavin, it was me and Gavin for 7 years straight, just me and him. There was no man in our lives. It was just me and Gavin. And so for you to come along, and so now we're dating, but when we got to a place of marriage, you became first. I'm sure that it probably was hard for him because he was used to like me and him, you know. But that doesn't mean that he was supposed to be first because he wasn't.
Wow.
So,
and again, this is under the covenant of a marriage, not for your boyfriend.
yeah.
So don't feel like, okay, my boyfriend come before my child.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
You need to take care of your baby, right? That's just your man.
And you
he ain't
still
put no ring on your finger.
You still take care of your baby even after marriage. But
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, but he ain't put no ring on your finger, done. But when that's your husband, then that's different.
Yeah.
Now, okay, another thing. Okay, what about this? Here's some we said we weren't gonna talk about until we get on here, because
what was that?
About should your child call the stepfather daddy or the stepmama mama?
So,
what y'all think? What y'all think?
Okay.
Should the child, like when you got a child, you get married, should they call your husband daddy?
Yeah. Or mama.
Or your wife mama?
Yeah.
What do you think? I want to hear what y'all think.
Yeah.
I want to hear this.
And I do believe it depends on the circumstances.
If the parent is still alive.
Yes, but even if the parent is still alive, because sometimes you have mothers who take roles, and then even fathers who take roles of that parent when these kids are babies. And this is the only daddy they know, this is the only mama they know, or the mama, the real mama is a mammy. So and she's not, in their life, and they've never known her like that, and then so daddy got a woman, and then they got married, and she became this kid's mama. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So now I'll let y'all answer it, and I'll tell you about my life.
Okay. Somebody said if there is that kind of relationship developed. Somebody else said personal preference. I'm not sure.
And Elaine says, and I think it happens naturally. Yes.
I don't like step titles, but I'm not the only person in the equation, so it has to be comfortable for everyone. Okay. Anybody else? What do you think? Okay, somebody else said it will be their choice. I will not demand them to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you saying?
So I was gonna say, so I never said to Gavin, you need to call him daddy.
Right.
And to this day, from the day he met you, he's always called you by your name.
Yeah.
He's always called you Mike. But I remember one day, and his father has always been in his life, but he wasn't always present. You know what I mean? He lived in another state. So I remember one day I told Gavin, I said, hey, telephone, your daddy on the phone. So he runs downstairs, he gets the phone, and he said, what's up, Mike? So now, mind you, it was his father, his dad that was on the phone. And he was mad, like, that ain't your daddy, I'm your daddy, you know. But he didn't mean nothing by it. He just knows that this is the person that has been in my life. And I said, your daddy on the phone. I never said, you know, he just automatically felt like it was you because you went to the store. And so usually when he goes to the store, he called back and say, man, you want something? Or ask us, what do we want? So, but he was like, look, this is my daddy. And to this day, he always say this is my daddy, but he knows that he has his biological father. And, you know, but there were things that Mike has done to raise him, and he's been here since he was 7, and now the boy about to be 28 years old. He's been a father to him. So, but I never said you need to call him daddy, you know. But he, like, you ask him who is that, he don't say this is my stepdad. He says this my dad, my mom and my dad. So,
wow, and something you said that reminds me, even just treating a child like a person. Where, like, just going to the store and say, like I even do with Micah now, like, hey, I'm at the store, do you want something? Why? Because I would call Nia and ask. I would call anybody. If my mother-in-law with you, like, ask her, does she want something?
Anybody
like it's just being considered, but you get parents like, you don't need nothing. Don't ask me for nothing. Yeah. It's like, but what are you doing? You've been
doing this for the longest. But
like these are people. Like, come on now.
The other part that I was about to say was, Lord, bring it back to my remembrance.
While you're thinking about that.
Okay, go ahead.
Something that I made sure I didn't do is I didn't want to push the dad role or dad title.
Yeah.
Because I always, if you're like, and I know, Rachel, you say you don't like the step title, but I'm saying it just so you can understand what I'm talking about. Like, if you are, like, say, the stepfather, stepmother, you know, I think it's always wise to be considerate of their biological parent.
Yeah.
Like I was always uncomfortable. Like, no, I don't want to disrespect his father because his father. You know, like I mean, I think it's to at least show the respect. Now, if he does it, hey, I can't stop a child from doing it, but I'm not gonna, like, you know, enforce that.
Yeah. And
sometimes it made me feel uncomfortable because I didn't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think something that actually happened with you, because you had 3 fathers in your lives: your grandfather, your stepfather, and your biological father, your father, and they always have been in your life. Mm-hmm. And because even who DeBose was to you and how he treated you, he never said my stepson. He was like, this is my son.
Yeah, he did.
You know, he's always treated you like that.
He really did, man.
You know, and that in itself was always a blessing. Now, I will say this.
And that helped me out to know how to treat a child.
And it helped him to be able to know what to do with my son. He like, hey, that's my son. That's my son. And but he didn't demand him to call him daddy because he called him son. He just, like, I'm Mike, you know. But he was like, Mike this and Mike that, you know. But it was the playfulness that he had gotten from DeBose, how he played with him, how he looked out for him, how he loved him. It was the way that you treated Gavin. And so I've always praised God for DeBose for being that kind of man in your life.
So I had 3 fathers.
Even though you still had your father, your grandfather.
So I actually got something unique from all of them.
Yes.
Like with DeBose, I called him when I was young, I started calling him Daddy Bose, right?
Yeah.
Because DeBose, like, so he was the nicest.
He was
man.
very kind, always
he was the
kind.
kindest man that I've met. Like, you don't meet a lot of kind men.
Yeah.
He had kindness. He was so nice.
Yes.
And I got that. I, like, literally.
Yes.
I love that about him.
Very
and
humble.
He was very accepting.
Yes.
So that helped me out. Okay, this is what a child who is not my biological, they need to be accepted. Mm-hmm. And they need to see the kindness.
Yeah.
My grandfather was very wise.
Yes.
He had so many, and all of them had wisdom, you know. But he had that old wisdom,
wise and sarcastic.
So that was that wisdom. It was other things.
He was sarcastic. Like, I was like, I was like, Reverend Owens, I bet you don't even know what's my name. He was like, well, I bet you know what's your name.
And D. Bowes, he was very giving.
Yes.
Right. And so I got those characteristics. My grandfather was wise, and he was giving as well, but he was a family man. Mm-hmm. He even had other children in the church. They called him dad. Yeah. He accepted family.
Yes.
So I knew, okay, even if a child was coming in.
He was a father.
Yes, the father.
He was a father.
Man. Yeah. So I knew that I had to be a father. My daddy, he was a kids person.
Yes.
I see him get along better with kids than adults. Literally, the children loved him, and so that's where I got the playfulness from my dad. And so those are the things I think. Man, kids are easy. Mm-hmm.
Well, they're easy to you, baby.
They easy. It's not just easy to me.
You like kids,
but they're easy. Listen,
for you.
Let me tell you something.
Y'all, are kids easy?
They are easy.
To you.
They're easy. But that don't mean they're not easy.
Can somebody back me up on that? All kids are not easy. They're easy to you.
Okay, so let's talk about age, right? I'm talking about little kids. Okay? Mm-hmm. They're easy. I ain't talking about the preteens. I ain't talking about that. But little kids are easy.
They are not.
Give them some sweets. They
will run around and they don't make them easy. They make them hyper.
Well, no, I'm not talking about easy to
what do you mean?
Deal with. I'm talking about easy in a sense where they will accept you. They will embrace you.
Okay.
They'll embrace you. That's what I mean.
So from that perspective, yes.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about they're easy
to
deal with. No,
not like that. So they will be easily accepting, and they will embrace you. You don't really have to try hard. You just got to show them love, right? And play with them. Okay, nope. But men most of the time don't do the hard work. Oh Lord, who is this? Okay, Lane. So hold on. Let me go up a little bit. Rachel said, absolutely. That's why I think it has to be comfortable for everyone, because I wouldn't want to overstep, but I feel like step means distance. I'd prefer another name. It doesn't have to be mom, but just something else that shows the love I pray we have or we've built. And at the end of the day, whatever I'm called, I just be glad to love them. This is just my preference. Yeah, absolutely. That love matters.
So when I grew up with a stepmother, and my stepmother, I called her by her name.
Yeah, and I called my stepmother by her name.
I called her by her name because I asked her, what should I call her? She called me Louise, or I would call her Weezy. So that was Weezy.
She had a rapper name.
I don't know if that name came from me or my daddy. I don't know, but I would call her Louise or Weezy. So, and I wasn't pressured to call her anything else, but the things that I learned from her was wow. She taught me the difference between quality and quantity. Yeah. And look, just different things I hadn't experienced that she was able to teach me. So I appreciated what she did, I love crab legs because she loved them and she brought them home, So a lot of things.
That's why you like crab legs?
Yes, I got that from her.
She created it.
Oh my goodness. A monster with the crab legs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was 8 years old cracking and eating crab legs. So, but the things that she taught me, but I still would say, this is my stepmother. Mm-hmm. And I think I didn't think step meant distance. It was
just a title.
It was just a title. I couldn't call her my second mama. You know what I mean? Because my mama wasn't having that. This is my stepmother. This is my dad's wife. She's my stepmother.
It's a term to make a distinction between
and not that I didn't love her and didn't appreciate her for what she did do in my life, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't distance.
Elaine said no, but men most of the time don't do the hard work. Okay, what do you mean? Men don't do the hard work. I don't understand what that means. You talking about raising kids? Is that what you're talking about? Men don't do the hard work.
What do you mean by that?
Bonus moms sounds better. Bonus mom, that's cute. I'm about to use that. That's my bonus mom.
This is my bonus kid.
I don't know if that'll work.
They do call it bonus kids.
Bonus kids.
It's my bonus kids.
Okay, it says, I thought that how you were saying,
She said she thought that's how you were saying.
I'm not sure. Most men, most of the time, don't do the hard work. I thought that's how you say. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I will say this: when we first we got pregnant, right?
We got pregnant.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I got pregnant. I don't remember.
So
you
I
being
got this
pregnant.
running joke, and Nia probably don't want me to say it. It's funny to me.
It must be horrible. Go ahead and get a little joke.
Look, I always tell her. She always told me I had to carry the baby 9 months in my stomach. I said, but I carried her all my life. I'm just saying. So that I mean, so look, who carried the baby longer? Okay, I just had to get that out.
Look, you didn't go
Who
through one baby.
carried the baby longer?
I can't stand her men say we
carried?
I pregnant.
I carried that baby all my life. I just let her hold on to the baby for 9 months. Then she gave it back to
You
me.
ain't carried nothing. Ain't nobody gonna entertain you, Mike.
I did. The baby, the seed of Abraham. That's what I'm saying. It came. Look, I'm telling you, we came. We got the baby. We carried the seed. I'm telling you, I'm just saying.
I'm not gonna entertain
I'm
him.
just saying, y'all.
Nobody's
Come
gonna
on, y'all. Come on.
Nobody's
Where the
gonna
fellas at?
entertain him.
Ain't nobody saying nothing.
Ain't nobody
That's how my
entertaining
daughter
him.
refers to. I refer to it as my daughter. It was easy love, but you corrected it. Okay, it was easy love. Okay, look, y'all ain't gonna say that. Y'all gonna be quiet because y'all know I'm telling the truth.
Because a woman knows that we didn't get pregnant. But what were you gonna say?
Okay,
before
so
you
when
went off on a tangent.
When you got I got pregnant. So her concern was DV. I said I agree, Pastor. Thank you, brother. Got one man. All right.
So you carried twins, Rev.
Carried a whole bunch of twins. Those ones that made it. All right. So
I can't with you.
Nia was concerned that when she had a baby, she didn't want to be the only one up all night. Remember that?
Yeah, because I used to tell you all the time. I said, "Hey, are you gonna when you talked about having a baby, I was like, so are you gonna help me?"
Yeah, she had trauma because
I had trauma because
she was dealing with she was a baby mama by herself.
I was a baby mama by myself, and when I would roll over, Gavin would cry, and I would cry with him. He was like, "Ugh," and I'd be like, "Ugh," and he'd look at me like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, "Yes, I'm crying too." So I didn't want to roll over and not have anybody to change a pamper, go get a bottle. And I kept saying, "Oh, you gonna take care of your baby? Or I'm talking about, are you gonna help me?"
And I would tell you all the time, listen, don't hold me to your trauma. I'm gonna be a good father. I'm already a good father.
So I held you to what you said. So every time the baby cried, when I was
and what did I do?
I'll wake you up out your seat. I'll be like, "Your baby crying."
And what I do?
And you get up
Did
with
I
your
complain?
baby. Yeah.
Did I complain?
And she liked you more than she liked me.
And here's the thing: she ended up like when he would leave, she would always want to stay at home with me. When I go, she like, "Come on, I want to go with you."
I want to stay with Daddy. I'll be like,
she's a
okay.
daddy's girl, so
no, you're not hurting my feelings, girl. You stay with your daddy. Sure. Bye.
okay. Look, anything else? Like, because we can drag this long. I got a whole bunch of other stuff to say. Well, any comments? Look, while you're doing your comments, listen. If you have not gotten your book, Let Me Teach You How to Argue. Make sure that you get your copy. All right. This right here. Look, people you're gonna argue if you're in a relationship, but the goal is to know how to do it.
How to communicate well.
Yes.
Yes.
Master it so that you all can keep the love and the fire in your relationship, all right?
Yeah.
There's a proper way to do it. Look, this one, dating advice for married men. Make sure that you all get this. Whether you're single, whether you're married, this is for your son, this is for women too, because when you read along with your spouse, and this shows you what kind of man that God has in store for you. You need to know what you need to be looking for so you don't have this hypocritical list, right? Hypocritical list.
Did you point at me?
I didn't point at you. Hypocritical list That
No, you know what that really was?
What?
It was because the Lord loved me so much that He gave me what I asked for, and I asked for a man without a kid.
He let Israel have Saul, King Saul, even though there wasn't.
Go to the next book.
I mean, God give you blessing. He gives the rain falls on the just and the unjust. Like he give blessings to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Give blessings to food.
You know why he acted like that?
I'm just saying, y'all.
He's acting,
don't get it confused
he's
because
acting
God
like
blessed
because
you.
I already cooked,
what
and
you
he
did
know
was
his
right.
food is already ready.
Yeah, I am.
That's when he started getting slick with me.
No, I'm saying I don't want them to think just because God bless you that He approves something because
He approved it.
Yeah, He did approve it.
He approved
You're right. He did approve it. Though.
Yeah, He approved it.
Yes. This one right here, Jesus Girl, How Do I Move Forward? Make sure you get this copy. It's all on Amazon, all right?
It's all on Amazon, but you actually can go to my tree link. It's actually on my page, and you will be able to click on the link and go to Amazon from there. So tree link, and then you'll see all these books set up.
Jesus Girl, this too, stories of women wrecked by love. Look, if you've ever been exhausted from striving, look, you're trying to fit into God's purpose for your life, this book will help you. Look, I mean, this is well written. I love this. Last two books, 40 Days of Presence, is a 40-day devotional and a companion journal with it. I'm telling you, this will be a blessing in your life. Make sure you get your copy. Read along with it with a group, small group, by yourself. Just draw close to God.
Look, this book right here, this is our bestseller. This right here is the bestseller. And because it's a daily devotion. So listen, if you're looking for something while you're on your fast, I know some churches are actually fasting. My old church always fasts during the month of June, I believe, for 21 or 22 days. This is always a good book to get. So they harden it up because they've had this book. They've read, a lot of people have read this, but this is our bestseller. So make sure you get a copy, but you can actually go to my page and go to Tree Link. And I don't know Mike's Tree Link, but I sent mine. I don't know if you sent yours. But when you click on, just go to my page, you'll see where it says Tree Link, and you'll be able to click on and go to any of these books. So I just want to say thank you all so much. If there's not any other questions.
There is one thing I want to say real quick.
So while he's looking for that, listen, so next week we have a special couple. They were supposed to come this week, and they actually had also a funeral. And so they could not make it, but next week they will be on with us. And then the following week we have another special couple for you. And I'm looking forward to both of the couples of what the Lord is going to do. So are you ready?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay. So if there are any other questions, you can type it in real quick.
All right, here it is. Look, so I want to read this real quick.
So this is you trying to be funny?
This is serious.
No, it's not. I can tell. No,
Hebrews 7.
No.
Can I read the Bible? I'm reading the Bible. That's all I'm reading is the Bible.
To suit yourself. Go ahead.
What you mean to suit? I'm just telling the truth.
Come on. When I get that little laugh right there, I already know. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
No, go ahead.
All right. Okay. You made me lose my. Okay. Hebrews chapter 7. It says in verse 9, one might even say that Levi, right, who collects the 10th, paid the 10th through Abraham, because when Melchizedek met Abraham, Levi was still in the body of his ancestor, which means that Abraham carried this man in his womb, in him. That's scripture. Ain't nobody commenting. Everybody got quiet.
Because they know
Everybody got quiet. Oh my God.
They know you.
I'm just saying, I carried our baby longer than your 9 months. Abraham carried Levi. He wasn't even born yet, Nia. Carried him. Okay. All right. That's all.
Thank you. Thank y'all so much. Don't entertain him.
Why y'all ain't saying nothing? Say something.
Don't entertain him.
No, I want y'all at least say, or maybe we got a bad connection because ain't nobody.
Don't entertain him.
Please, I just read scripture, y'all.
We supposed to close out.
Okay, all right. You're right, Pastor. Thank you, Rev.
Pray for him.
Thank you, Rev.
And pray for him and his friend. It's online, Reverend Devion.
Lane, yes, I agree. Thank you, Lane. Thank you.
Lane, don't entertain
I agree.
him.
Thank you, Lane.
Lane,
Lane.
don't entertain.
May the
him.
Lord bless you and keep you. May His let His face shine. You give life. That's right. We give life. Okay. My father said the same thing. He had me first. Oh, before my mama. That's what I'm talking about. Regina said I came late. That's all right. Look, thank you. I appreciate it. Y'all took too long. I've been waiting for somebody to say something. Y'all went a whole 25 minutes, didn't say nothing.
Did nobody want to entertain your foolishness?
I'm done now. I'm done.
Yeah.
We can eat now.
No, you gonna fix your own plate.
Oh.
Next week we're gonna talk about abusive spouses.
It's so true though. It's so true. Look, let me tell y'all something.
He gonna have a black eye. He gonna be like, I don't know what happened to my eye.
On dating advice for married men, I told Nia, y'all gotta get it, but I told Nia I was gonna put that in the book, and Nia was like, you better take that out. That don't sound right. I mean, what you mean? I was literally gonna put that in the book. How it's a chapter called Fatherhood, and I was gonna talk about how fathers should see like their children in a deeper way than mothers, because that they carry their children all their life. But it was true. It is so true.
I hear what you're saying, but you carrying that little sperm.
But it's
different than us carrying the weight of a child and going through labor, because you don't feel that. So I can't.
You mad at God because He did it that way? That's not my fault.
I'm not mad at God.
But it didn't.
I'm mad at you because you just keep going.
Baby blew up when it didn't start like.
That's why she looked just like him.
I'm just saying. And this
Were
is
you in the live,
no
sir?
wait, but that was gonna be my point. I had it neatly written in the chapter. I said, Nia, I was kind of nervous about it. I said, I don't know if I should take this out.
You said I should backhand him because the ring finger
or leave it in, because I was talking about fatherhood. I said maybe
we close out?
No, wait. I was telling her. I said I think men would really connect with men, because sometimes men don't. They always say mama's a baby, but daddy's maybe. But if men would see that there's a closer relationship with the child than the mama, because the mama only had the baby 9 months, but you had them all your life.
But
it's in you. That's what that was gonna be powerful.
But in order for you to develop your bond, you have to spend time with the child.
Child was with me all the way, the ride or die.
So how do you?
We was ride or die.
So how do you explain the deadbeat daddies then?
What you mean?
How do you explain that?
I don't see what you mean.
The deadbeat daddies who don't.
Just the way you explain the deadbeat mamas who don't. It's the same way. Sin into the world, but Jesus came to not only set us free, but that we may die to ourselves, so Christ can live in us. We crucify that flesh, that deadbeatness, so that we can. Time for dinner. Okay, you're right. All right, Carmen.
And it's time for dinner, Carmen. And I'm gonna make. I made a bowl with rice and beans and salmon and veggies. See, he ready to eat, and and like avocado and all that stuff, and spinach.
Saint Lady
mushrooms.
Nia has a point, Pastor. Mothers carry the weight of the child. That's true. I'm not discounting, and that's what I was trying to explain here. I wasn't discounting the weight of a child, but I'm talking about the longevity of the carry of the father. See, I'm just saying. There's different ways you can see it, but there's neither.
We're gonna see how that bowl look. My bowl gonna be full of it.
She don't carry that weight.
And then
carry the weight in that bowl.
Made some cilantro sauce to go on top of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be so good.
All right.
So anyway, what you eating tonight? You know how people tell their husband they can't sleep in the bed. I never put him out the bed. I just don't feed him when he acts up.
She lying. Come on, she lying now.
I'm lying.
She can't keep a straight face.
I always feed my man.
All right, y'all.
Hey, let me tell y'all one little story before we go. So me and Micah and Mike, we went to Union Station. And so he
my
had
goodness,
he had to
come
go and
on.
put something back in the car.
Oh, Lord.
And so me and Michael was
Why?
standing on the
What's the point
curb
of
waiting
this?
on him. I just want to tell y'all what happened. And so
Where's this going? Like what point can you?
you know
make
how
out of
you
this?
told your joke, and I let you tell your
It
joke.
wasn't a joke. It was true.
Don't leave.
I'm here.
So he was walking back to the car, and I told Micah. No, he was walking back towards us, and I told Mike, I said, "Oh, look at my man. He's so fine. Look at them bow legs. He's so fine. Oh, look at my man." And so he was looking at his phone, and then all of a sudden he did this. And Micah said, "You sticking by him?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm sticking by him."
Oh man.
He was fine up until that point.
Look, Patricia said you got to learn to eat early. I did eat early. I'm about to eat again.
He ate earlier. He eats. If he gained weight like the way he eats, he would be like a 400-pound man. And I'm not exaggerating. If anybody knows how he eats, he would be like 400 pounds.
I'm hungry now. Come on.
So
let's pray.
You want to pray now?
Yeah, I'm hungry. You just talked about the whole meal.
Go ahead and pray.
Listen, I want.
Lord, help him, Jesus. Okay.
Look, I pray that, Lord, I ask that those that are out there that are parents, mighty God, that have blended families, and even just their own family, mighty God, that they've biological, Lord. I pray that you would just raise up a generation of parents that will treat their children like little people. They will love them. They will like them. And just spend time with them, God. And that they will train them up in the way of the Lord. And that they will be so bombarded with love that when they do discipline, they would not, they would still receive that parent quickly because of the love. It's so captivating. We thank you. We love you in Jesus' name.
Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Go in peace. Have a wonderful night. Thank you all for listening. Please share. And we look forward to seeing you again next Thursday at 7 o'clock. We got a special couple for you. We actually have one of our sons in the ministry, and he will be with us on next week with his beautiful wife. So
I think you overbooked.
No, I didn't. That's for the following Sunday, the following week.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Anyway, good night.
Right,
I love y'all.
Peace.
Jesus loves you so much more.